Me personally, no. I think we're good where we're at.
So you guys should look at Canada and see what's happened here. Our economy is destroyed. We're propping up our fake GDP with the immigrants that we're importing. We're not even importing business immigrants here. We're
Miraz,
yeah.
hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. First of all, don't ever insult us and compare Canada to the U.S. Your population.
I'm not trying to compare.
Pause. Don't speak over me. Listen.
Okay.
Listen, you got the population of California, and you're on the track to be just as despicable as California. And here's why.
Exactly.
Hold on. I don't know why you're speaking while I'm speaking. Listen, here's the problem. I know I did. And you're welcome. The reason I cut you off is because it's not the immigrant problem that you have. It's the invasion that you've had in your government from both India and China. Your government is compromised by both India and China.
Agreed. I was getting there. I agree.
Okay, well, you took the fucking slow road.
I'm not disputing that when the head of one of the biggest parties in Canada was a Sikh Indian, I completely agree with what you're saying. Yes, we have infiltrated. There's a lot of Chinese corruption here. There's a lot of Russian and Indian corruption here as well. But we imported close to 450,000 immigrants in Q1 of this year. Now, based on our population, that's a very big number. At the same time, we have close to 20,000 Torontonians leaving Toronto every single month because they can't find work. All the jobs are being given to the Indians that are coming in here on their student visas and whatnot. So no, I completely agree. What I'm trying to say is, look at what's happened to Canada with our open border policy. It's destroyed our economy. It's destroyed the way of living here. Our housing crisis here is ridiculous. You cannot find a one-bedroom apartment under $2,000 in Toronto. It's just, the overhead here is ridiculous. Everyone is trying to leave. So no, Mojo, I agree exactly with what you were trying to say. Our government is infiltrated, and when you have open borders, that happens. So with regards to the ICE raids, though, yes, there are people that are being wrongfully arrested, and I would suppose that the United States government would do something to remedy that. But this is what the majority of the U.S. voted for, and good for you, because if you're on track going forward with Kamala, you would have had what we have in Canada today, a liberal government that is moving towards socialism and is destroying the way of life in society.
Miraz, hold on one second. Thank you for your share. I'll come back to you. But I love these people, these fucking intellectual giants like Mo, who says free Palestine and spells Palestine wrong. I love it. Well, keep up the good cause you're in.
Well, JB, would it matter really how she spells it? It doesn't exist anyway.
It's just fucking funny. I just think they pick up a cause they don't know how to spell the fucking name. Good morning, Hakima. Steve, you want to say something?
Very quickly. I don't understand, and maybe someone can explain it to me. If they truly want to free Palestine, and again, I agree with Mo, I don't know where the hell Palestine is. Why don't they go to Palestine, wherever it is, and free Palestine? Why are they in the United States or wherever they are? I don't understand this. Maybe someone can explain.
Well, let's go to Hakima. Maybe he can. Good morning, Hakima.
Hold on, baby. Hey, did I raise my hand or did you invite me up?
I invited you up.
Oh, okay. I thought I accidentally. What's up?
Hakima, I thought ICE brought you here.
ICE fuck with immigrants.
I know, you're here legally, I know.
No, I'm not an immigrant at all, so ICE don't.
So, Hakima, do you think ICE is going too far?
I think that, from what I see, they're going after the wrong targets. Like, they're not going after the people that came in under Joe Biden. All the Venezuelans that sitting up in hotels in Chicago and other cities. They're not going after the people. They're going after the Mexicans and the other people that've been here for decades, which is not the criminals that he said he's going after. So, I wouldn't say they're going too far. They are immigrants, but they're not doing what they said they're doing. They're trying to just get numbers, not deporting anybody. But in that sense, I guess they are going too far.
Well, let me say this. So my son-in-law, his mother, who was born in Canada, been in America 40 years. ICE came to her house, kicked the door in, put her in handcuffs in front of her grandson, and put her in ICE detention.
Did you say she was a school teacher too? Wasn't she a school teacher?
She was a school teacher. Yeah.
Like, that shit, that makes no sense. Like, that's wasting.
But let me tell you. But let me tell you how the story ends. They released her. They sent her back home. She spent 2 months for no reason, nice detention, but they released her.
I'm so happy they released her, but she never should have to go through that. Like, whoever saw her getting put in handcuffs should not have to go through that. Like, that was unnecessary. It wasn't the stated goal for what Trump wanted to do. So they definitely went too far. That shit, that's messed up.
Actually, I got a statistic here. It's saying that half of the deportations that are happening under Trump, which it's about 3,000 per day right now, is the average. Under Biden, they were deporting 1,000 a day, which I think is that's impressive because it wasn't enough to keep up with the flood of people that were coming here illegally. But if 3,000 a day are getting deported and half of them are not those with criminal records, that means that 1,500 every day that have criminal records are getting deported. That tells me that he's doing a good job.
I'm saying, but the other half that don't have a criminal record, they're wasting time. Like, stop trying to fill your quota and go after the criminals.
Well, hold on. Respectfully, if you came here illegally, you broke a law.
Yeah, okay, but yeah, that's not what he said he's going. He said he's going after violent criminals, the worst of the worst. But clearly, he's just trying to get numbers. Like you can spice it up however you want to, slice and dice it. But if you're being real genuine with the conversation, you know he's not doing or going after these Venezuelans and these other people that came in the country under Joe Biden. He's not going after those people at this moment.
He's going after 1,500 a day of those.
They feel violent to me. I feel like that's what we listen. Silence is violence, and these people are pretty silent when I try to speak to them in English. So.
Yeah, the history on this situation is, you know, anybody that's not at risk of being impacted, or anybody that's not at risk of being having their family impacted. The way the story goes, it's always them until some way it impacts us, or me. So I think, the risk is, what's the evolution of this? If it keeps going, that's a concern.
Well, no. Well, why don't you complete that thought? What do you think that if we don't stop them from sending people that came here illegally, eventually, what are they going to do? They're going to send back people that look like you, Sia?
Well, for black people, that's literally a concern. The way
really that's your concern?
That's not necessarily my concern, but I'm echoing the sentiment of, you asked the question, right? That is literally a concern. If you think about, men saying brown people eating cats and dogs and all this stuff, that's sensational and not true. That's the history, not just in specific countries, but in multiple countries, when a politician, authoritarian figure starts to demonize, to create a public sentiment that makes these people feel despised, unseen, hated, and almost reduces them in value in society to roadkill, then why would you matter? Why would it matter? So there's an inhumanity about it.
Well, you're calling it inhumanity, but what he ran on and what helped him to get elected was that the American people are fed up with people that are outside of the U.S. that are not following the law. Now, I would argue, and I'm probably the most immigrant-friendly person on this entire app. There's a couple of us that believe in the plan that we should have 1 million Americans, and that would mean dramatically increasing legal immigration. But until we get the legal immigration policies underway and fixed, we shouldn't turn a blind eye the way the Biden administration did and allow people to flood into the country. If you think about it, like in 2024, Biden allowed 3.2 million illegals to enter this country. That's crazy.
And I'll just add to I'll add to that very quickly. Then you go, Cio. in 2024, the Biden administration put out an app where people could sign up for the app and then arguably come here and register the legal process. The Trump administration, just within the past month, put out an app agreeing to pay illegal immigrants to leave the country. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, the problem that we're having with most of the conversations in these apps and Clubhouse is there's just such a strong proliferation of misinformation that everybody has separate data and a separate look at what we're doing. So we end up having to...
Seal, can I just ask you a quick question?
Well, you can, but you can't speak while he's speaking. Maraz, listen, this is America. We have rules. This isn't fucking Canada. One person speaking, you let him fucking finish.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mojo. Yeah, what I was going to say to your point in terms of 2024, one, Trump had 4 years as president. He didn't put enough in place to stop illegal immigration. So it's not like this is a new term for him. He had 4 whole years. Mexico was going to pay for the wall. The wall was going to be built. There was going to be an immigration bill. We were going to solve immigration. Guess what? 4 years of Trump happened and we didn't solve immigration, but we did get a pandemic. Okay, that's just a fact. No disputing that, right? Nobody's holding them to accountability for wasting 4 years of immigration. Joe Biden had 4 years, right? We say here's the number that came in, but we also don't realize that Trump, in articulation on stages and in policy, demonized immigrants, but he ran on immigrations because he didn't run on policy. He just ran on emotions and xenophobia and several other things. So there was a bill, everyone knows this, but let me just get the whole word out before somebody jumps in. There was a bill that they worked on during the Biden administration that Biden was ready to sign, that the Republicans in the House and the Senate led, working in caucus with Democrats, to send more patrols to the borders to solve the illegal immigration crisis. And let's say factually what happens for context. Donald Trump knew that the xenophobia was his best way to get into the White House. So he said, hold tight, House Speaker. Don't pass that bill. I need to demonize these immigrants a little bit more to make people set up for ICE and what they're going to do. And then to make people fearful of the nasty, evil, disease-carrying vermins from the South that are going to take over the country and ruin our way of life. Because that's my campaign pledge. And what did he do?
I got a question. Hold on. I have a question for you. Since you brought up the bill, I have a question for you. How many border crossings, illegal border crossings, did that bill allow for on a daily basis?
The border crossings on a daily basis, I don't know. What I do know.
Oh, what? No, hold on. If you're going to reference the bill that you thought was such a good idea, it's probably a good idea for you to know the details of what was in that bill and why people with common sense would oppose that bill. Because if you don't know that number, let me explain. It would have allowed 10 times the amount that was coming in under the Trump administration previously. So if you don't know these details, it's probably not a good idea for you to simp for them.
Okay, I'll raise you one on that, right? So yes, that specific detail I didn't know, but what I would ask you is why did MAGA Republicans put that in the bill in the first place as a lead point if that's a detriment and Trump didn't like it? MAGA and Trump typically work hand in hand. This is a MAGA Republican, conservative Republican-led bill. Why did the same party that's advocating and simping for ICE not put the right bill together in caucus with the Democrats? Tell me what happened with that, Mojo.
It's very clear. You're just wrong. In fact,
no, I asked the question. I'm not wrong. I just asked the question.
Well, no. You're.
Why did they put the bill together like that?
You're wrong on who put the bill together, and the evidence that you're wrong is who opposed that bill. Let me ask you this: if MAGA Republicans were responsible for the bill, then why did MAGA Republicans oppose the bill?
Because they wanted to politicize. They wanted to put that part of politicize it for election season, which is what I just said. So who did the?
Wait a minute. Hold on. You're an expert on this bill, but you didn't even know. Hold on. You didn't even know. You don't even know the details of the bill. You don't even know the details of the bill.
No, I don't.
Like this is what I'm talking about. People reference these things. No. I know you read the headline. Listen. I know. It's good that you say you agree with me while the context of what you're saying is disagreeable. But go ahead.
But hold on. Here's where I agree with you, Mojo. You said this shit the other day. You said a lot of people get on and they try to pretend experts and they're pseudo-intellectual on subjects. I'm just like you. If I don't know this shit, I don't know it. If you correct me, I'm corrected.
Okay. So then let me correct you. The bill that you don't know the details of was horse shit, which is why it was opposed.
Okay, so back up. Okay, so you say the bill is horse shit. You said it was a higher count of people that could come in daily under the bill, right? I do know this. It was a bipartisan bill. I do know this. Republicans initially led in the House, so there's nothing that I said that was inaccurate. You asked me if I knew the details. I told you I didn't know the details. So I'm not supping for the bill. I'm speaking to the fact that you didn't speak on, which is it was politicized, which is the majority of the Republicans in the House were ready to vote on the bill. Those were the facts as I know them. Are you contending with those facts?
I'm contending with the fact that the bill was shot down. The bill was rejected because what was in the bill would have been detrimental. And then you got people like yourself that are bringing. There's people like yourself that are bringing up this bill as if that it was a mistake to reject it when you don't even know what was in the bill. Like this is Jesus Christ! Can I finish? This is the problem. People will fucking put a bill out. American people won't fucking read it, but then they will have an opinion on it. You'll have an opinion whether it's good, whether it's bad. How about just fucking read the goddamn bill? Like, if we were to read the bill, then we could have an informed discussion about it. This is the problem. I didn't bring up the bill. You brought up the bill, and then when I asked for one of the key details of why people rejected the bill, you're saying that you're saying that, oh, well, I didn't know that. Well, why not fucking research the thing before you bring it up?
Hey, Rod, can I correct you on something? I just got one correction. Please.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Rod just stated earlier about the 3,000 deportations today. That's what they want. The facts is they deported 737 people, which is actually 1% less than what Biden. Those are the real numbers, not 3,000.
Are you counting this? Are you branding the Mexicans before you sending them back? I'd like to see your numbers.
I can share a link, no problem.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
You can't share one saying they're doing 3,000 days.
Actually, I will share a link because everything that I say on this app is backed up by data, unlike some of you know.
So Mojo, how many pages were in the immigration bill? How many pages of the bill did you read?
I will post it right now. Hold.
No, I'm just asking how many pages of the bill did you read, and how many pages are in the bill?
I read zero.
I don't have it in front of me right now.
I just wanted to announce. I read zero.
What percentage of the bill did you read all of the pages? Immigration bill.
That's interesting that you asked, because when Bryn was on this app, we actually went through the bill word for word. I don't remember exactly how long it was.
The bill? What percent? Half of it, a quarter of it?
Well, Bryn actually read it to the entire room. The entire bill.
Give me an idea. Of what percentage. So you read the entire immigration bill that the House Speaker killed?
I did not read the entire bill. I was in a room where the bill was read to us, and so I don't know. Are you new to Clubhouse? Because we actually went through this at the time. How many pages?
I am new to Clubhouse, but here's what I'm saying, though, Mojo. You just said that a person cannot discuss a bill intellectually in Clubhouse unless they read the entire bill. I would submit to you that 99% of the people on Clubhouse or on the news or in Congress don't read the goddamn bills. Let me
I agree. I agree that people don't read the bill, which makes it even crazier that you would be the one to bring up the bill that you didn't know any of the key details of.
Okay, well, hold on 1 second though. Hold on 1 second. What I brought up is a reference to the political process, which I am very well aware of because I discussed it. I didn't give you or profess to be an expert. You challenged my intellect on the bill. What I'm saying is that's not the actual substance of the debate that we just had, Roger. I get it because you're a super smart guy, right? But check this. Listen to me. And I got mad respect for you, but I want you to hear the point. I'll be done at this point in 30 seconds. What I'm telling you is the fucking House representatives that get paid by the U.S. government or taxpayer dollars don't even read these fucking bills. Marjorie Taylor Greene just said, oh, I didn't know that was in there. They don't read these bills. They have people in their offices that read the bills and tell them the major points in the bills. Senators don't read the goddamn bills. So we don't get paid on Clubhouse to read 200 pages of bills. So when I say the bill, I'm saying for you to excoriate me on a Clubhouse app because I'm not intellectual enough to have read the entire immigration bill, to me is nonsensical. So just leave that there. Let me make one more point before I'm done. Hold on 1 second though. I'm saying the point that I made still is a point. But with all due respect, Virgil, you didn't even address the point. What I said was Trump killed the bill to politicize the issue and run on it as a campaign. That could be subjective. I'm not in Trump's office every day, but the way all of the details played out, that's what it said. If you have information that says there was a Republican in the caucus when they worked on the bill that was willing to vote against the bill that the Republican put together, I would love that information. Look, man, I just for the fact I'm new on Clubhouse. I come on here. I've heard you. You make some really good points. You're really direct, assertive. You shut people down with your opinion. You're super fucking smart. I like how JB runs it, but I don't think it's fair to say I didn't read the entire bill, so why am I simping for it?
Okay, so when it comes to the material facts of the bill, the threshold that bill would have set would have been for 8,500 encounters at the border in a single day. Now take 365.
You want to 8,500? I'm just trying to ask a question.
If you let me finish, I will be very concise. In that bill, it set a threshold of 8,500 illegal border crossings, these encounters. It would have to hit 8,500 per day for the border to get shut down. My question to you is, why would anybody that takes border security serious, why would you set a threshold of anything over one encounter? Why would you allow people to why would you have a caveat that allows people to enter illegally? And why would you ever sign into law something that allows for 8,500 a day before the trigger? Why would you do that?
That's not what it's. An encounter is not saying they letting them in. That's just saying who they encounter at the border, and they encounter the same person multiple times. That's not saying that's not
85. Do the math. Do the math. Oh, somebody's already done it. Mike has done it. 8,500 a day is 3.1 million for a year.
Can I finish? The threshold was 4,000. If they have 4,000 a day on average, they shut the border down temporarily. If they have 5,000 a day on average in a week, they shut it down permanently. If they have 8,500 in one day, they shut it down permanently. So what you're saying is not true. Not 8,500 times 365.
Why would you, Hakima? Why would you write a bill that sets a threshold at 8,500? If they're breaking the law coming here, why is the threshold not Zero.
They're not letting them in. It's just an encounter, Roger. It's only an encounter. It's about who they encounter at the border. It's not saying they're going to let 8,500 people in. They saying they encountered 8,500 people in one day. They shut the border down.
Akima, you're in the Matrix, or is it just me?
It's just you. It's just you. Regarding hello. Regarding this bill, there's one issue that's been talked about forever, and even today, that I don't have an answer for, and I want to bring up this issue and see if anybody is interested. It's a fact that the news has constantly reported, as it's been discussed here, that allegedly all Republicans were in favor of the bill, ready to vote for the bill, and then Trump quashed it. Trump told everybody, don't vote for it, but because I want to get elected. I am not familiar with one congressperson, one senator, even Donald Trump, who has gone on the record and said that this is a true statement, that everybody was going to vote for it, but Trump quashed it. We know that many reporters have reported this, but if anybody knows anybody that's gone on the record to say, yes, I was going to vote for it, but Trump told us not to, so I didn't, I'd love to know who went on the record to say that, if anybody's interested in that.
Steve, you do know, just for the way that I understood the process, and I'm welcome to be corrected, the House Speaker didn't bring the goddamn bill to the floor. So what I'm saying is, the bill was, here's the facts as I know them, right? And I don't want to just briefly, Mojo, that I'm going to back off. I don't want to hog the whole stage as I've already done with me and Mojo. But here, let me just say 2 points. The issue is, the House Speaker killed the bill. The Congress didn't kill the bill. The Congress didn't vote the bill down. The Congress on the bill in caucus with the Democrats. They had their best working deal to send billions of dollars to the process, to send Border Patrol, to have reasonable mechanisms in place to kill all of the illegal immigration for whatever it's worth, to deport who they needed to deport. It was a comprehensive immigration bill that had been worked on in Congress for a long time, right, with the Republicans. Donald Trump called the House Speaker and said, House Speaker, don't even bring that shit to the floor.
And Mike Johnson, who is the House Speaker, did he ever acknowledge what you just said as being true?
I don't think he's going to say ever in the history of the world, you know what, I did shove that bill so I could politicize it and allow Donald Trump.
So if I may, just for shits and giggles, you're not aware of any single person like me who went on record and said I would have voted for the bill, but because of Donald Trump, I didn't, right?
Okay, hold on, Steve. I think I'll just try one more time.
Okay.
How would they say that if the bill didn't come to the floor, Steve? So let me just finish the point, Steve, and I promise you I'll pass it over to you. What I'm saying is, regardless of who said what and who didn't say what, nobody said that this didn't happen. But what we know for a fact is they worked for a bill for a long time. They worked on a comprehensive bill between both parties. Both parties were agreeing with it. Why? Because they're the ones who put it together. There were lead Republicans on the bill. It was a comprehensive immigration bill, which we needed, which Trump didn't put together in his first term, right? And then what happened is it did not come to the floor for a vote the way I understand it, right? So that's factual. Now, that's the fact. You guys can,
No. What you just said is factually correct.
Right. So let me just get to this point. I promise you, Steve, and I'm done. So with Mojo, hey Mojo, if you post something, I'll read it, man. I'll read it. I'm probably, unless Congress is peeing me, I'm probably never gonna read a whole fucking bill ever. So I probably don't need to be in Clubhouse by your standards, for whatever it's worth. I'm never reading a whole bill from the United States Congress unless I wrote to some bitch. And I'm not planning on writing any in 2025. But you never. I was making.
Hold on.
That's one point. I promise you, just one point. Hey, Mojo, if you have information with regards to the shutdown and that process and that threshold and who opposed it, I would love to read any article for referring that. Here's how I understood it. I understood it as the shutdown, partial shutdown, or what have you, our border is not open. Our border is never open. Our border always has patrols. Our border always has a partial fence. Our border has always had checkpoints where you have to show multiple IDs. Our border has always had people looking over it to make sure no illegals come over. That's never not been the process. What I understood in terms of the threshold with the shutdown is actually shutting down so nobody can get in, right? Not even legal people going back and forth. When there's a permanent shutdown, it reduces, unless you're a citizen, anybody coming in through that particular border. So I said that the threshold wasn't about, hey, let's have a few thousand people a day come on in. That's not what it is. So I think people are speaking about what an actual shutdown is. A shutdown is not necessary unless it's emergency if the process is working properly. So what we've needed is just a proper working system with enough people to make sure that nobody gets into our country. And I think we all agree on that. I'll land.
Yeah, and let me just read some math to you, just so we can put some figures. So, in the 2016 election, happens in November, so you take office in January. So we'll start in 2017. In 2017, encounters at the southwest border was 450,000. That was 2017. That was Trump's first year in office. His second year, 2018, 600,000. Trending up, right? What a bad guy. In 2019, 850,000. Right, continuing to trend up, and then in 2020 they have a dip, goes down to 405,000. We could attribute that perhaps to the pandemic, right? And then when you go to 2021, this is when Biden took office. Now remember, the numbers for Trump were 450,000, 600,000. 850,000, 405,000. In 2021, when Biden's first year in office, you set an all-time high of 1.7 million encounters, okay? 1.7 million. In 2022, a new record high, 2.76 million. In 2023, 2.8 million. So we keep breaking records, and the streak continues. 2024. Nearly 3 million, for a total of 10.8 million encounters nationwide since 2021. That 10.8 million encounters. Now, if we go back and we do the math, when Trump was in office the first time, it's 450 plus 850, that's 13, right? Plus 6, that's 1.9, plus 4, plus another 4. So it's 4 times the amount. 4 times the amount. And my question is, what do you think went wrong when Biden came into office?
To be really honest with you, I don't actually know the exact details of what went wrong. I don't know why, I do. I'll say this without being disparaging. I know people that are authoritarian typically break things so they can look like the person to fix it. I'll just leave it there.
I said the auto pen signing. The secretary signing for right.
When I said we need Roger back, because this Mojo guy keep losing debates. That Roger guy was pretty good.
Fascinating. Apparently, this Hakima guy doesn't like math. It stands for reason that the guy that believes that the Earth is flat would disagree with math.
Hey, Mojo, for whatever it's worth, the argument happens because we've been sensationalized to hate each other and just argue these conflicting, contentious points because it's good for clubhouses and it makes them money, makes news money. But the point of the matter where we agree, we're arguing, but I don't want illegal immigration, right? So you're arguing with me based on what you heard other people say, right? So your angst isn't even for me, against me, because you don't even know my point. So I don't want illegal immigration, right? I do think that deportations are reasonable, right? I just think that the government, and we live in a country, my country, the United States of America, no more yours than it is mine, is a country of laws. And I think habeas corpus and due process is an important part for the United States. And I feel, just like for what it was worth, Obama did, where he had the highest number of deportations that were done for whatever it's worth, right, with due process. And I feel that yes, we can have whatever his quota is for his ICE group is cool, but let's just do it humanely. And I think all of those objectives can be accomplished with the right system, the right funding, and a person who, as a leader, leads like the United States has always done. A nation of laws with compassion that cares about people and that has due process. So to literally be on the phone, on these apps arguing with each other when we typically agree on most of the shit, like whatever caused it, I know we're in a pandemic. I've never worked.
Who's being robbed of due process? These people aren't being deported until after they walk out of the courtroom and the judge makes a verdict.
Well, so Sig, the information that I've seen is that there's a higher number of people who are being deported without the case. Without having a case, right? Because the whole expedited process was supposed to be for violent criminals. So when Mojo gives the stat that 3,000 people are being deported a day and that 1,500 are not violent criminals, we just concerned whether it's 1 or it's 10. We don't want somebody's mama that accidentally got mistaken to sit in a jail cell for 2 months, right? So what we're saying is, which is just insane that, Americans, patriots that love the country wouldn't think that this is a good idea. It's just to make sure that with these enforcement officers, that there's some humanity and that there's due process, which is a part of our Constitution. ICE isn't in the Constitution.
So
again,
you have hold on one second, Pussy. So CO, what's her name? The governor of New York, Holcomb, whatever her name is. She just had a press conference the other day. Even out of her own mouth, her only complaint was the saying that was a bullshit. Oh, inhumane, this and that. But even out of her own mouth, she said the way they're rounding these folks up after they leave the courtroom. She never mentioned once in her press conference that anybody was getting round up, getting their due process taken away from them. Out of her own mouth, she said that it was after they came out of the courtroom. She was just upset with, how it's handled. But people are getting their due process. And if you got this expectation, CO, of perfection, understand friendly fire is a term for a reason. Even in fucking war, we've got American troops that kill other American troops by accident. Like, you're never going to get 100% perfection in any process, especially when you're talking about dealing with tens of millions of people. There's going to be 1 or 2 anomalies swept under the rug, unfortunately. It just happens. Even our prison system, there's a handful of people that are in there that did not commit a crime, but they got swept up because you're just dealing with a large number of people.
No, I get it, man. So basically, we're litigating in the conversation between me and you right now, Sig. Are there people that are getting due process violated, right? We don't really need to argue stats, because at the end of the day, what we're saying is 1 person in jail is too many that doesn't deserve to be there.
That's not true.
You understand?
But you understand.
You're
asking for a utopia. You understand perfection. The only thing that's perfect is death. That's the only thing that has a perfect count on this earth, and you're expecting perfection with imperfect human beings. Like
this is why the perfecting of the Constitution and the ideas of America is always a North Star, right? So with perfection, right, we don't ever expect perfection in anything, right? But the Constitution is not perfect, right? But our North Star has always been to be a country that gives people due process. It was originally a country of immigrants. So I'm saying, no, it's not perfect. But to sit on a stage and we're talking about it's inconsiderate and it's leftist and it's terrible for me to speak with humanity about the treatment of human beings, that's all I'm saying. Why can't we circle around that?
But then when you start off your opening statement on that was that they're not getting their due process. They are getting their due process. The vast majority are getting their due process.
Not all of them. All of them not getting due process.
Okay, but again, listen to what you guys are saying. You guys are shooting for perfection. Guess what? Not every. Hold on, man. Hold on. 1 second. Bro.
But that's the North Star for the country.
What I'm saying is, this is where it's fucking. You guys sound like retards. You guys are expecting perfection. Well, not all. You said even if 1 person. Guess what? There's going to be 1 fucking person always. You're dealing with an imperfect human being. Hold on. You've been talking for a long time, and I've been listening. Let me get my point out. I've been respectful, and I'll let you talk. What I'm saying is when you start off your opening statement with, well, if 1, that's too many. bro, you're dealing with millions of people. It's not going to be a perfect process. And if your argument is going to be, well, we got to get, everybody's got to be treated equally, you're never going to fucking win, and it sounds retarded.
Well, I'll see.
Hold on, before you go, I need to insert something here because the people are talking around this, and I think we should get some facts on the table. So, back in 1996, there was a bill that was passed, the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigration Responsibility Act, which gave the federal government the authority to remove certain non-citizens without a hearing if they're apprehended shortly after entry and cannot prove lawful presence. So this is something that was passed back in 1996. I don't know if you guys are looking at the calendar, but that's quite some time ago. The only thing that's changed recently under the Trump administration is the Supreme Court also allowing for the expedited removals to go to third countries, and so that's the only change that's taken place since 1996 is that we could send them to we don't even have to send them back to their nation of origin. We could send them back to a third country, and we've selected a few to do that. And by the way, the bill was passed. So it became law in '96, and then this Supreme Court ruling that allowed for third country deportations. This just got passed by the Supreme Court. So what you're saying is you want the rule of law to be followed, and what my contention would be is that the rule of law is being.
Wait a second, CO, I got you. So let me just say this real quick, 2 seconds. I pinned an article to the top. Trump scores major win in birthright citizenship cases. Supreme Court curbs nationwide injunctions. So we're gonna go CO and then PB. Guess you.
Hey, Ryan. Hey, Mojo. Let me just correct you briefly because you have a misunderstanding. I'm assuming you're not a lawyer, but you're super smart, right? Read if you could, because each letter of a bill or a law is important. Read if you would what you just said with that law, and let me just make a point to you so you understand what I mean, okay? What did you just say about the law that was passed in '96? How long can they be in the country for that exclusion to be able to have them deported immediately? How long?
Let me post it for everyone to read.
Okay, but just tell me how long can they be in the country for them to be able to be deported immediately?
I'm gathering my facts so I don't do what most of you do here on Clubhouse.
Okay.
Let me
and I don't do what you're saying. I only deal with what I know. So what I'm saying to you is, and this is where people are misinterpreting and why people get in these arguments, to your point, what you just said is not what Trump is doing. He's not deporting people that have only been in the country for a short amount of time. So basically he's saying, if you catch these people and they get across the border, they've been here for X number of days, deport them immediately. I agree with that. That's a law that should be followed. That's not what ICE is doing in your 1,500 number scenario, right? They're deporting people who've been a janitor for a school system for 15, 20 years. That law that you're talking about does not apply to people who have been in the country for more than a couple of years. So it's still splitting hairs, and I still agree with you, but don't use the argument about there's a law that supports them deporting people immediately using that 1996 law.
My question is...
Cool, shut up. Be quiet.
I'm gathering the information, but I think page one.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I wanted to step back just to the due process thing. And by the way, I mean, I think due process is very important. I think it's a point to make sure that, we're talking about consistently. That's all fine. But the issue I have is we're not talking about it consistently where, I'm glad Abrego Garcia came back and he'll have his day in court. And the one case I wanted to highlight, or one thing that happened under the Biden admin, is I think we remember the makeup artist that got sent to the prison, and people said, well, he's not a criminal, yada yada yada. So what happened when the Remain in Mexico was repealed is that a lot of people were crossing the border, whether they're claiming asylum or not, and we didn't have time to properly vet them. So border agents, at their discretion, were putting people in maximum security prisons and detention centers during that course, because you can't, just let a ton of people in and not vet them first, even though we do that. And so if we do care about due process, we have to think about all of the people with all of these illegal border crossings that ended up getting put into detention centers, and even the asylum claims where, maybe they have some type of asylum status, like the makeup artist, but someone decided his tattoos looked weird and they put him in jail. So I think we just can't be selective on where we care about due process.
Excellent. Let me go ahead and now read. I wanted to make sure I gathered the facts here. So the 96 bill would have allowed for 14 days and within 100 miles of the southwest border. In 2019, under Trump, that was expanded to under 2 years anywhere in the U.S. So you like if you entered illegally and there was let's see what the definition that they had. If you're apprehended anywhere in the country, not just the border, in 2019 they expanded this, so they had up to 2 years. And so the people that you're arguing for with, due process violations would have had to have entered unlawfully over 2 years ago. So if you have specific examples of that, then you would have a case. But if they've entered the country within the last 2 years and they're sent back, they don't get due process, and that's the U.S. law.
I'm going to push back just a tad. My understanding is no matter who you are or where you come from, as soon as you step foot on American soil, you are entitled to due process. Now, what that due process is and how that due process is played out depends on the law you've broken or allegedly broken, what you've been arrested for, and what the jurisdiction is. I can give cites in the Constitution to that. But if I could digress for just a moment, I just noticed something. It's probably because of my eyesight. JB, are you there? Can you unmute if you're there?
I'm here. What's up?
I want to ask you one question, but you can address this later. I just noticed for the first time that you have an orange-yellow star, which means you are a Clubhouse paid member. If you wanted to explain what your decision went into getting that, I would appreciate that, but we can talk about that later.
I don't know, $50 a year I thought was a good deal, and I like to go into spaces anonymously when people are talking shit about me.
Thank you, JB.
I could respond to you, Steve, on when it comes to matters of immigration. The Supreme Court believes that immigration's a matter for the executive and the legislative branch to have exclusive powers, and they've reinforced this in decisions like Kleindienst versus Mandel in 1972 and Fiallo versus Bell in 1977. You could look up those cases if you like.
Hey, Roger, do you know if the bill of 2024 that was proposed by both parties included an amendment to the 1999 bill? And that's why I was asking you. Thank you for that correction to your earlier statement, Roger, that it is the 2019 where they amended it. I said 1 or 2 years because I couldn't remember. So thank you for that edit, and that is what we're working from. Do you know, Roger? I'm sorry, Mojo. Do you know if the 2024 immigration bill included an amendment to the 2019 bill?
No, they're completely unrelated. They were working completely outside of the framework of the 96 and the 2019 amendment.
There was something in that bill that changed a part of the amount of time that they got arrested. I thought they were trying to move it to 1 year or something like that. I could be wrong, but you're saying there was definitely no consideration for amending that part of that bill in the new bill, correct?
I will search it again, but I don't believe so. I don't believe there's been anything proposed to change that. But again, that would mean that in order for those that are saying that, hey, people are getting deported without due process, in order for you to have an argument there, it would have to be people that entered here unlawfully and have been here for 2 years or more. So anyone that yeah. So if you can find those cases, then you would have an argument. And by the way, it wouldn't shock me to find that there are violations of that. That the issue would be if you are deporting people, that have been here for more than 2 years, that would be in violation of the law. And through the court system, I'm sure you could get that right.
Mojo, quick, if I may, hello, Mojo, yeah, thank you. Mojo, just to follow up to what you said, and again, maybe my interpretation is wrong, doesn't the 14th Amendment to our Constitution guarantee every person, no matter who they are, where they come from, that sets foot on our soil, due process, whatever due process might be?
Well, I've given you the exceptions that the Supreme Court's allowed for.
Fair enough. Thank you.
But my question is, when it comes to the writ of habeas corpus, like produce the body, like when we're talking about the idea of due process, how does this apply to people when we're deporting them? And we're not deporting them because they committed a crime, other than they came into this country illegally. So now we have to judge these people whether they came in the country illegally, when we can initially prove that they are not here legally, and now we got to ruin our judicial system with their time because they're overflowing us. What the fuck is that about?
Well, that was a very nice commentary and statement, Doc.
Now, my question is, what about them not showing up for their hearing? Isn't that in violation if they don't show up or they don't attempt to make the process correct? If they are here and they don't do what they're supposed to do, or they say they're here on asylum, aren't they supposed to go to court and say, this is why I'm seeking an asylum? And if they don't do it, doesn't that give them a right to be deported?
As long as a deportation order is issued because they missed their hearing, yes. If a deportation order is issued, even if it's years ago, they can be picked up off the street, thrown on a bus, thrown to jail, and kicked the hell out of the country.
Bye, Felicia.
Hold on. Here's the other thing. Let's say someone had been here for more than 2 years. If they came here unlawfully, here's what they would have to show in order to be able to stay. They would need to be able to show that proof that they've been here for over 2 years. And this is just to be able to get the hearing, right? You have to be able to show utility bills, bank statements, pay stubs, lease agreements, medical and dental records, school records if you have kids, receipts with names and dates, and affidavits from employers, family, and community members. So these are ways that you can prove that you've been here for 2 years, and if you can't provide that proof, then you're going bye-bye. So it's possible that somebody could have physically have been here for 10 years, but let's say they didn't establish some of these things. Let's say they're, just living out of somebody's garage, didn't want to, participate in society, then yes, you could have been here for 10 years and still get removed. And then people would cry that, that oh, hey, they've been here for 10 years. But if you don't have the documentation that proves it, then good.
So, that's my question. Why is the burden of proof on that? Because it's almost basically saying they're guilty of not being here for 2 years unless they can prove that they have been here for 2 years. So, why is the legal system shifted? Shouldn't the burden of proof be on the government to prove that they have been here less than 2 years?
Hang on. The burden of proof is different depending on what jurisdiction and what type of law you're talking about. The burden of proof is not set in stone.
If I could answer that.
But I agree with you, Uncle Steve. The thing is, like, when it comes to the burden of proof, you gotta prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt.
That's only in criminal cases. In a civil case,
well,
let me finish. Let me finish.
You think illegal aliens are civil?
Okay,
You think illegal aliens are
I've
civil?
given you 2 warnings. Let me thank you. The burden of proof in a criminal case is beyond a reasonable doubt, which a lot of people consider over 95%. The burden of proof in a civil case is a preponderance of the evidence, which is more than 50%. And then, depending on what jurisdiction you're in and what type of case it is, the burden of proof may or may not shift or be different.
So, do you think illegal aliens? Do you think illegal aliens are, Uncle Steve? Seriously, do you think that illegal aliens are civil or?
Seriously, I'm not an expert.
You won't answer the question.
Doc, the answer is I don't know.
You don't know if illegal aliens are civil or criminal.
Well, Doc, you tell me.
They're criminal.
Yeah, get the fuck out.
If it's a law being broken, it automatically makes it criminal.
Actually, it's both.
And there
How is
you
this
go.
civil? Wait. How is this civil?
And by I just want to say, by the way, I'm the one that moved Doc down because he said get the fuck out. I just assumed he was talking about himself, so I helped.
Well,
How is this civil?
everybody mute up. Everybody mute up. Thank you very much. So I definitely want to go to AJ, who I like and respect, even though I don't always agree with them. Good morning, AJ. AJ?
I think some of the issues are being conflated here. So I think people are assuming that due process means you're entitled to a full hearing before you're removed from the country. If everyone just takes a second to look up due process principles, what it gets at is making sure that your government is following the rules and procedures and the law that you're entitled to under the letter of the law before they take action. That's to prevent arbitrary or discriminatory action from the state. It doesn't mean that due process is the same thing for everyone in every situation. So when you come into the country, even if you've been there for less than 2 years, due process principles apply based on the definition I just gave, but it doesn't mean you get to have a full hearing before you're removed. Why? Because in the United States, there are certain exceptions like expedited removals where maybe you don't get a full hearing before you go, but that doesn't mean you've been deprived of due process.
And Steve, going back to what you were talking about with preponderance of evidence,
Yes.
with civil cases.
Yes.
In this case, I wouldn't say that. Like, for example, the government, ICE agent sees someone. The person says, "I've been here for 3 years," let's say, and the government is arguing, "No, you have to prove it to us." That, like, it's not that they have any evidence to the contrary. So, like, they don't have a preponderance of evidence at that point in time. However, it does seem that, like, where does that come into play? That's the only question that I have before I have that.
Are you talking about an immigration hearing or a standard civil hearing?
Well, when it comes to this, like, in terms of determining who is
Immigration? When you say this, you mean immigration?
Yeah, the topic that we've been.
I have no fucking idea.
That's what I was trying to just weigh in really quick, Pat. So, hey, Pat, really, just briefly, you asked why do they have to prove it shouldn't be the government? If I could just get my 2 points on it, right? We have to prove that we're citizens. Whenever we fly on an airplane, we need a passport. If we get a license, we need to have a separate bill to say that we are who we are. So that's just the process. Everyone has to prove it. So in the context of what Mojo was describing with where you've been in the country for 2 years, they're just saying prove it, because there's a legal pathway to citizenship. for whoever's working. Sometimes people are seeking asylum or leaving political oppression, right? So they're saying if you're here, you're contributing to society, and you have this, that, and the third, we'll at least give you a fair hearing. But before you give the hearing, show us what you got, and then you get to the hearing.
So like that.
The other point,
that's exactly what I was thinking. So like my logic is why do you need to have utility bills signed? Like a lot of. So my question. Hold on. Let me land the plane real quick. Would a photo of them crossing the border, like with a New York Times, like a newspaper in hand, wouldn't that suffice? Wouldn't that be enough to prove it? If it would be documented if they were deported already and then came back. So like if the government doesn't have that, then they have no proof that that person hasn't stayed here for the last 2 years. Wouldn't that be enough to suffice as some level of evidence?
You know what? I hate when I go get my license with this real ID that they need me to bring a bank bill and I just can't use the electric bill, right? Where I'm semi-jokingly saying, whatever reason they have to verify it, I'm going to let the experts do that. I don't think they're going to take a New York Times picture of you crossing the border as anything, so let's just push that on the side out. We can look that up and figure out why you have to create whatever ID and what bills to prove stuff, right? Here's what I was going to add, if I could, because I'm not the expert either, but what I do know is that the immigration bill, which is the reason that we've always needed a comprehensive immigration bill, which is a kind of sort of reason why Donald Trump is doing what he's doing, is because we've never had enough resources. The immigration bill, the bipartisan one that was at the beginning of the year last year, it literally had 700 to 800 magistrate judges, because these hearings for immigration are not the normal court process. It just reduces, like the gentleman said, the arbitrary, potentially discriminative nature of just a bunch of people deciding, yeah, you're good, yeah, you're not good. So if we get more magistrate judges and more places where these people can process, then Trump can get his numbers up. So that's why I was saying that we just need a comprehensive immigration bill, and we've always needed, because we're teetering around it. And so a bunch of people in the clubhouse that don't know shit about the law, we're speculating on this shit, but they just need to.
I want to take a little
laws up.
So I want to do a little less speculating and get back to a question that came up with Steve and with Pat in regards to whether it's civil or criminal. If you overstay a visa, that is a civil case, and the consequence can be removal, i.e. deportation. If you're a first-time illegal entrant, that is considered a criminal offense. It's a misdemeanor with up to 6 months in jail. It could be the consequence, and getting deported. And if you re-enter after being deported, that's also a criminal offense, but that's a felony, and that can get you anywhere from 2 to 20 years in prison. And then employers can be caught in a civil matter if they employ illegals, and then immigration fraud is a criminal case also, where you could go to jail where you're presenting false documents. So those are the differences of how you would get caught up in civil and criminal cases.
Yeah, and I completely agree with everything Roger said. That's number one. Number two, what CO said about getting more magistrates, I completely agree with that. Hiring more magistrates, aka judges, to hear these issues would absolutely speed up the process. I think the only objection to doing that is cost and money. I haven't heard any other objection. And last but not least, this is why I say I don't know the exact procedure. I'm not familiar with the magistrate process. All courtrooms of all different jurisdictions have little nuanced rules. So when I say I don't know, it's really that I don't know. If I knew, I would say it, but I don't.
What's up, Rolo?
Good evening. What are we talking about?
Rolo, this is your wheelhouse. We're talking about U.S. immigration law, so we had to get an Aussie here to tap into expertise. So thank you for.
That is my specialty. I'm considered an expert on the subject, so please ask anything.
Not everybody speak at once.
Oh, but listen, like the Garcia kid, that came back from, you know, what was it?